My girlfriend wants me to sleep with her twin sister, plus update. Original post. So I, 23 male, am in this very bizarre situation right now. I've been dating this amazing girl, 22 female, for a little over 2 years, and it's been an absolute blast. She's attractive, cheerful, kind, supportive. We have a great relationship. She also happens to have an identical twin, and they are pretty close. They've been staying together ever since they started at the university. They go to different universities, though. They are a bit different personality-wise, but the twin is also a very kind girl, and we get along pretty well. Naturally, we all hang out together very often, and I am pretty comfortable with both of them. I think of her twin as my own sister in a way. Anyway, the twin was dating this guy, 30 male, for almost a year. I never particularly liked him. I thought he was an arrogant prick, but I tolerated him when we all hung out together for drinks once in a while. Well, it turns out I was correct. He was cheating on her with his ex, and they eventually broke up. This was 6 months ago. Needless to say, that girl was devastated. She took it very hard. She kind of became depressed, and her self-esteem and self-worth weren't doing that great. The fact that it was her first relationship didn't help either, I guess. She started not wanting to go out that much. We tried to do our best to drag her out, of course, to see and meet new people. And why not even hook up with someone? I even tried to set her up with one of my friends who was single at the time, and honestly, a great guy overall, but no bueno. And it's not only us, her own friends also tried to help her, but she just won't cooperate. She says that she wants to meet nice guys, yet she is always bitchy and whiny about it, never liking anyone. She keeps comparing them to that prick. Simultaneously, she keeps whining and saying she's not pretty enough and other crap like that, which is not even remotely true. But no matter how many times we tell her, she just won't believe it. Now I know she is feeling pretty down about the whole thing, and I understand that and don't hate her. But I'd be lying if I said that I didn't find it annoying because it starts affecting our relationship. My girlfriend always worries about her and tries to help her out a little too much. They proceed to fight, and then my girlfriend takes it out on me. And we're not even at the good part yet. So yesterday, my girlfriend was staying at my place. We had sex, and afterwards we were lying down talking. You know, usual stuff. Until she says she wants to ask me for a big favor. I'm like, sure. Then proceeds to tell me that she'd like me to have sex with her sister. At first, like any sane man, I thought that either she was joking or that I fell asleep and was dreaming. I was staring in one of those porn movies with twins. Sadly, she wasn't joking at all, and I was wide awake. She probably realized that I had a what the F look on my face and then proceeded to rationalize it. She told me that her twin already had a slight crush on me, and at the moment I'm probably the only guy she truly trusts. She said she thinks it will greatly improve her sister's self-esteem and mood. She told me she already talked about it with her twin and the twin was okay with it. She reassured me multiple times that she won't get mad about it and she won't even be present. She could just stay at my place while I go to theirs and do the deed. It will only be a one-time thing, and I could just pretend her sister was her, she said. Hell, I don't even have to take the whole thing seriously. I just need to have sex with her sister and then hold her tightly for a bit so that she feels wanted and desired and crap like that. She was practically begging me to bang her sister. Meanwhile, I was standing there listening to her without being able to utter a word. That was how surprised I was. In the end, I said I'll think about it for a bit and left it at that. I couldn't fucking sleep that night. That was yesterday. Today I'm kind of avoiding my girlfriend. We texted a bit and thank goodness she hasn't mentioned anything about it yet. I am freaking out. Twin threesome jokes aside, I don't think this is normal. She was talking about it like it was nothing. The sex itself is probably not such a big deal for me. I mean, they look almost exactly the same, and I am pretty comfortable with her twin. But I think if I accept it, I could potentially ruin our relationship. She says she won't get mad, but I heavily doubt it. And I also heavily doubt it will help her sister unless something suspicious is going on that I'm not aware of. Also, I am fearing that if I have sex with the twin, not only things might get really awkward between the three of us, but the twin might later get jealous and start sabotaging our relationship. My girlfriend was pretty serious about the whole thing, though. She looked like she really wanted me to do it. I'm having some really dark thoughts right now. Perhaps the twin is manipulating her and is taking advantage of my girlfriend and me. Perhaps my girlfriend is weirder than usual. I feel guilty having such thoughts for two girls I hold in high regard. Oh man, I fucking have no clue what to do. I am thinking of suggesting that we get her to therapy to feel better or something. I've talked about this with two of my friends, but they just won't take the situation seriously. I am getting paranoid at this point, but I just don't want to ruin this nice thing that I have with my girlfriend, that's all. Now for the top of comments before reading the update. Yeah, definitely do not do this. It will not only change your relationship with your girlfriend, it will change her relationship with her sister forever. Maybe it'll only change it slightly, but even that could be the end of things for you. The sister could catch feelings, the girlfriend could change her mind and end up jealous. You could catch feelings for the sister. Anything could happen, and almost none of it is good for you. And honestly, it's a little demeaning to you. Are you some dick rental service? Here's what you do. You sit them both down and say, I care very much about you both, and I know how much you mean to each other. I would never dream of coming between you, phrasing, so I don't think this is a good idea. Sister, you're attractive and worthy of love. You got hurt, and that's not your fault. Girlfriend and I are going to be here for you, and someday soon you're going to find someone who deserves you. Then give them both a big hug and go bang their mom. I'll sit down and talk with my girlfriend, sure. I'm not that brave and bold yet to sit them both down and talk to them simultaneously. I'll leave the sister talk for my girlfriend to figure out. That would probably be the most uncomfortable I'll ever be, facing them both and talking about this situation. Man, even imagining it makes me want to run. You won't even believe how many times we've already told her that she's attractive and worthy of love. She can easily get a decent-looking guy if she was actually willing. Hell, the guy I set her up with really liked her, and I also consider him to be more attractive and generally nicer than me. Her excuse was that her prick ex made her feel like she knew him for years when they met, and this new guy just doesn't do it. Sounds like your girlfriend thinks that external and immediate gratification will fix more deep-rooted problems. You suggesting therapy is a way more sustainable and a rational way of helping her cope. If you were to go through with sleeping with her, you're putting all three of you at risk for a much more complicated situation than you're in right now. Now for the update. Update. I read and skimmed through most of your comments, guys. Anyway, here's a brief update. So I met with my girlfriend earlier today and it went pretty good, I think. We met and talked, she brought it up. Turns out she was feeling like shit the whole time yesterday. Deeply ashamed and terrified. She started crying, saying she was regretting it all yesterday and she is now 100% sure she doesn't want to share me with anyone. She doesn't even want to imagine me being inside another woman, and was terrified that if I said yes, then she wouldn't be able to do anything to stop it since she suggested it. She mentioned that she is deeply sorry and is now afraid that I think she is not normal and I'm going to leave her and stuff. I reassured her that I love her. I think she is perfectly normal and I'm not intending to leave her or anything like that. Once things calmed down, we talked about what prompted it. Apparently her and her sister talked an awful fucking lot about sex and relationships and are very open about it, which in turn means that they're talking about our relationship and me a lot. According to my girlfriend, the sister has fantasized quite a few times about me, how I would look naked or when having sex. But my girlfriend never thought anything of it since it wasn't particularly serious, as in I'll steal your boyfriend. And to be fair, throughout the relationship, I never once got the impression that the sister was hitting on me at any point or doing something looking into escalating things. My girlfriend admitted she was actually flattered her sister found me attractive and desirable. Things got more intense this last month though, and the sister was way more vocal about it. My girlfriend eventually started entertaining the idea of me getting intimate with her sister. Not in it's a hot kind of a way, but more of a wanting to share something I greatly treasure kind of a way, as per her words. They talked about it and the sister was very on board with it. That's pretty much it. We are both meeting the sister in the evening to clear things up, hopefully get things back to the way that they were. I mean, it's not like anything bad has actually happened. Story 2. Am I the a-hole boarding the plane and leaving without my wife? Original post. My wife, female 43, and I, male 47, have a daughter, female 21, who goes to college out of state. We will call my wife Meg and my daughter Jess. Jess is in her junior year of college. Over the summer, she was employed by her university and was able to stay in the dorms. After summer, she was moving out of the dorms and into her own apartment off campus. Meg and I live in the PNW. Jess goes to school on the East Coast. We usually go to visit Jess a couple of times throughout the semester, typically parents' weekend and move-out day. She also comes home during the holidays. Let me explain by saying that traveling with my wife is not a great experience. I am very type A. I like to have everything organized and make sure that we get where we need to be early, especially when traveling. My wife is the opposite, very go with the flow, and we will get there when we get there. I do my best to meet in the middle, but not when traveling by plane. Last year, during Parents' Weekend, Meg and I were going to fly out to see Jess. Our flight was at 10 a.m. Our airport isn't huge, but not a tiny airport either. I told my wife that we needed to be at the airport 90 minutes early, and we live about 30 minutes from the airport. That being said, I wanted to leave at the very latest by 8, since we would also need to park and walk a little bit. I, of course, got up at 6 to make sure everything was ready and accounted for. My wife does not like to get up early. It took me attempting to wake her up 5 times before she eventually got up at 7:40, then wanted to make coffee, shower, and eat a bowl of cereal. Let's just say that we didn't leave the house until 9. It ended up being busier at the airport than normal, likely due to many colleges having Parents' Weekend, and it took so long to get through security that we missed our flight. Rightfully so, the airline refused to refund her ticket. We were able to get new tickets, but not until the next day, and missed Friday afternoon and Saturday morning with her daughter. Jess was disappointed, to say the least. Fast forward to now, we were flying down for a long weekend to help her move. We take one flight from our town to a bigger town nearby, then fly from there to my daughter's college town. Again, it was a long morning of me pushing my wife, getting her to move along. Due to the last airport mishap, I wanted to make sure I told her we needed to leave extra early as to not miss the flight again. We got there on time with a bit of time to spare, and my wife was annoyed. Kept going on about how we just have to sit and wait for 45 minutes for them to start boarding. We took our first flight and landed in the connecting city at a much larger airport. We only had about an hour layover. We got off the plane at 9:15 and our next plane started boarding at 9:40. We had to take multiple rails to get from where we landed to our terminal. We got to our terminal and had about 15 minutes until our plane was set to board. My wife tells me that she wants to get coffee. There was a little market next to our terminal that sold hot food and coffee. I asked her if she wanted me to grab it for her. "No, I want Starbucks," she said. Well, Starbucks, we had a rail ride away and a little bit of a walk. I told her we couldn't do that. We didn't have enough time. She stated that we had enough time, and if I wouldn't go with her, she would go by herself. I tried to discourage her, but she was determined. She walked away at a brisk pace for her and said that she would be back in time. 15 minutes went by and she was nowhere to be seen. They started calling boarding groups. I called my wife hoping she was nearby, but she didn't answer. They called a few groups, then called ours. In a panic, I called my wife again 3 times. Finally, on the last call, she answered and said she was on her way. It was a long line and she had to wait a bit. I told her they were almost done with boarding and she needed to hurry up. I waited by the gate, but the attendant said that they needed to shut the gate in 2 minutes. I waited and waited, but she didn't show up. The attendant asked if I wanted to board, otherwise she was closing the gate. I tried to plead with her to wait a couple of minutes, but she insisted that she couldn't, so I boarded the plane. A few minutes later, my wife calls me saying that the attendant won't let her on. They had already removed the boarding ramp at that point. She told me I needed to tell them to let me off the plane to be with her, and I said no. It's not fair to do this again to Jess. I said I told you we didn't have time, but you decided to go anyway. I told her to go purchase a new ticket for the next flight, and I would see her when she arrives. She got to Jess's school and seemed unbothered by the whole situation. Didn't even really talk about it. I thought maybe she realized it was her fault and just wanted to drop it. Boy, was I wrong. We are now home and she hasn't talked to me since the trip over a week ago and is insisting that I'm an asshole. So am I the a-hole? Now for the updates. Update 1. Wow, I know a lot of people say this, but I really didn't think this would get as big as it did. Thanks everyone for the responses. I have been trying to read them in batches when I have the time because I have been getting some good suggestions. I wanted to answer a couple of questions I saw as well as add a bit of extra information. For those who are outside the USA, PNW is Pacific Northwest. As far as how she acts in other situations, she generally doesn't have any issues. She is never one to be late for work or anything like that, or just seems like travel is her poor area. I never noticed things like this until we started traveling often to see her daughter. This is why I never considered ADD or ADHD. She really shows no other signs of this. I saw posts implying that my wife might have an addiction of some sort. I'm not sure how that would line up, but I don't see that as being a possibility. I didn't think the following information was important, but my daughter made a comment, and so did a friend that I discussed this with, so I thought maybe I would mention it here. Jess is not Meg's daughter. I was married once before, and my wife unfortunately passed away due to complications during Jess's birth. I married Meg when my daughter was 6. My daughter made a comment that Meg doesn't like to come to see or help her, and that is why she is always running late. But I have offered to go alone, and Meg is always very against the idea, so I wouldn't think that is the case. Update 2. Hi everyone, thanks again for all the advice. I read many of the comments as I could and took in all the information. I wanted to provide an update. My wife finally started talking to me again. When she did, I told her that I wanted to have a conversation about the situation, but I wanted to give it a couple of days for emotions to settle down. Some of the comments here gave me a great idea, and I wanted to see what she thought about it. For all future trips, I will have my tickets, she will have hers. I typically drive to the airport and leave my car in one of the pay lots, so I would drive myself and she could Uber. She will have all the freedom she wants to do what she wants, but it is up to her to arrive on time and board the plane. I let her know that it was starting to feel like I needed to keep track of both of us. I phrased it in a way to make it sound like I didn't want to be controlling over her and to let her manage her own time. She wasn't happy with this, but she reluctantly agreed. Now to get to the bigger issue that I didn't realize we had until reading the comments of this post. Call me oblivious, but I really never thought there was any issue between Meg and Jess. After talking to my wife, she wouldn't admit to any issues and stated that she would never intentionally delay a flight so that we couldn't see her daughter, and acted offended that I would ask such a thing. If that was her actual purpose, I don't think I would be able to prove it, but it will be at the forefront of my mind in the future. After talking to Meg and Jess, we decided on the following. Meg and I will be visiting Jess on Parents' Weekend, but I will be attending Father's Weekend from now on, and I will be attending by myself to get some alone time with Jess. Jess seemed to be very excited, and surprisingly, Meg didn't seem to have an issue with that this time. Thanks again to everyone who took the time to give me advice. I really appreciate everything, and I hope these steps can work towards a resolution for the issues. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for not immediately driving to bail my stepdaughter out of jail? My wife, 40 female, has a 19-year-old daughter, Meg, that is starting her second year of college. Meg attends a school that is about a 4-hour drive from where we live. She started classes about 2 weeks ago. Meg has taken out loans to pay for her college and lives on campus, so she has no rent and has access to food on campus. She worked all summer so that she has a fair amount of her own money, but we will provide her with $100 a month to help her out. This past weekend, my wife got a call from Meg at 3 a.m. Every parent's worst nightmare because no call at that time is good news. Thankfully, Meg was okay, but she had gotten arrested. Apparently, she had been at a party with friends and gotten drunk. She walked home with a group but split off with a couple of other friends at some point. This smaller group walked up to what they thought was one of their houses, but it wasn't. The people who lived there did not appreciate the doorbell ringing at 2 a.m. and called the police instead of opening the door. When the cops showed up, Meg and the others ran. Meg got caught and was arrested. She called us from jail and wanted us to come and bail her out. My wife practically jumped out of bed and started to get ready. I asked what the F she was doing, and she said, "We have to go get Meg right now." I told her it's 3 a.m. and a 4-hour drive. If I'm going to be driving that far, I need to get some sleep first. My wife ripped the blankets off the bed and told me we need to leave now. I got up and reminded her that there are 2 other kids in the house, stepson 16 and her son 9, that we need to talk to before we leave, and I don't want to wake them up at 4 a.m. to tell them that we're leaving. I also reminded her that due to her astigmatism, I'm guessing she wants me to drive since it's dark out. I told her she either lets me sleep until at least 7 a.m. or she leaves now and drives herself. I told her that Meg is safe even though she's probably scared and uncomfortable, but that maybe she needs to feel that way right now. She tried to argue with me, but I told her that I am not going to fight about this, so she either leaves now or lets me sleep. Thankfully, she let me get some sleep, but woke me up right at 7 a.m. and told me to get in the car. She apparently hadn't slept and had already told the other kids what had happened, and that we would have to leave but would be back later that day. The entire drive, my wife made comments about how scared Meg must be and how we should have left earlier, etc. I kept trying to tell her that Meg will be fine, even if she's a little shaken up by this. Then my wife told me that if this was my son instead of Meg, I would have jumped out of bed just like she did. That pissed me off because I would be doing the same for my son that I'm doing for Meg. You get arrested at 3 a.m. and want us to bail you out, you're waiting until I damn well am ready to come and get you. But my wife thinks that me sleeping instead of leaving right away was the a-hole move. Now for the advice. Not the a-hole. Actions have consequences, and your stepdaughter is learning that right now. You did the right thing. And hopefully there's someone there who would have taught consequences before she had to learn them the hard way, but engaging by the complaining that she must be uncomfortable and immediately jump to OP's kid and stepkid. I'm not seeing that in the leaves. I do, however, see the son and 9-year-old looking askance at OP's wife after the 4-hour car ride of divisive statements and pity for the young woman who is old enough to drink underage and wake up at rando at 2 a.m. That's all for today. If you're enjoying this story, please like the video and share your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you.